Islam is the only one of the five major world traditions which respects no separation of church and state at any time. It is always flat earth, always broken. It is not about forgiveness. It's also not about investigating. It's you're a slave of the prophet or the infidel, persecute or be martyred. You can't convert someone to a Christian against their will because you cannot force someone to accept forgiveness. But as a judge, if you're entertaining the possibility that just converting the public by the sword might be the healthcare plan that's right for you, just entertain the possibility. Run simulation. Not all of these other countries needs to exist, Gandhi. How much stronger the dollar would be. We weren't slitting our own throats for rebates from humanity's closest natural enemies. Holy marriage is a real and enforceable contract. Gandhi suppressed the Calibat, who represent the sanctity of virginity and marriage. So the result was the last emperor of China abdicated to a bunch of eunuchs, a bunch of sadistic wizards. And that's where communism really comes from. You cannot weaponize the Hare Krishna and still call it freedom of religion. It's not their religion. Krishnamurti said it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Was he wrong? So take it a step further. First, do no harm, or you're not even a doctor. It's the definition. International pressure for Roe v. Wade was an attack on the institution of democracy itself. Oh, it's the women voting is the problem. That's what it was. They just wanted to, it's accelerationism. Women voting is the problem. Therefore, give them too much power and let the system devour itself. Put us on an even field with humanity's closest natural enemies. There's but one Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. Who do you think you are? You're a slave of the prophet or the infidel. Slaves have no rights. They're always the first to get eaten. I have never been a Muslim. I have never professed Islam. Arabic, maybe. I bought a Quran so I could cross-reference fatuous claims on the internet, and I stood for the universal human rights of the Palestinians and the kid that they scapegoated for breaching national security, even though he was gay. Doesn't mean I'm gay, and that's not really what they thought anyway. They might have already thought I was gay, and that's why they let the homos represent me behind my back, but they never said it to my face. Anybody, growing up, we were always calling each other gay. It's funny, but the gay revolution is not about gay rights. It's fascist communism because they hate women voting. They blame women for Vietnam. Charles de Gaulle was our ally in World War II, and then when he tried to liberate white slaves in North Africa, they called him a terrorist. So by the time we got through Korea and up to Vietnam, the women's lib movement was the obvious scapegoat, and we stabbed France in the back in Vietnam. Now we've got North African slave raiders. Islam doesn't have really doctors. They have the Hashashin, where we get the word assassin from, because they don't really understand. I mean, it's basically they're surrounded on four sides by different religions. So in order to justify their protection, they're just as offensive as possible to all of them at the same time. Moses said, "To lie with a man as thou doth with a woman is an abomination." And unhandled livestock, you Philistines. And Christians go along with that. It's not just an excuse to persecute people to the ends of the earth and force them to sell drugs for your campaign fund. My personal stance is that he was not addressing the women. I'm not saying women can't be a threat. I'm just saying no woman ever raped her way into your throne. Strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. But it's not illegal. What did you have in mind, peasant? These women have been betrayed, either by a man or a government. And I believe not in feminism, but in chivalry. Not to be confused with chauvinism or misogyny, because we're not just trading chattel slaves here. there has to be a reason we go fight about this, or it's not worth banking on. It's not a safe investment. Where would you be without the police, for instance? There has to be a reason somebody's ready to go fight about it. So, in fact, the failure of due process is tentatively a de facto state of war in the interim. You can't just arrest somebody and then find out he's innocent and then not investigate. You still have to find a guy that actually did it. You can't just prove someone's guilty by force without an investigation and fail and act like it's the democracy. It's not the law. King of the what? So Islam likes to create these secret kings. It expands into the vacuum of rational authority created by the ultimate injustice. We prosecute violent crimes against small children and we have to line you up on your knees and shoot you on TV. It's the foregone conclusion. Otherwise, it can't be argued that this is a free country. If it's not a free country, we are the news. So Christianity should be pushing back. It should be going the other way. There should be no war on terror over here. It should be over there in the devil's playground where it belongs, where it has been allowed to foment for a long time unchecked through two world wars so far, because Gandhi invented Muslim neutrality. His autobiography says he wasn't Hindu. Don't act like you care enough to contradict me, but not to read his autobiography, which is a non-fiction book one writes about oneself. But certain parties think, oh, well, he's from India, therefore we can just penalize India, but not the Hindus. You can't claim to represent freedom of religion and penalize the Hindi for Gandhi would have been mostly like a Hare Krishna, I think. But from what I recall, he says his parents were Hindi and he wasn't. He obtained his education in madrasa. It's a prison. So now that the United Nations has this business model going where they just lock up political dissidents until they say what they want them to say, and they're like, oh, he's perfect. Like Nelson Mandela. That guy came out of prison looking like John Hinckley Jr. Yeah, like it's whatever they said it was. So the United Nations is wrong. Catholicism is correct. Catholics are allowed to be wrong, but they're also allowed to be right sometimes. Not Islam. It's always wrong. Moses said, to lie with a man as thou doth with a woman is an abomination because two boys can't make a baby. And obviously, raping the livestock doesn't mean you own it. You're not even in the arena. Now we have to put it to death because it doesn't mean we own it either. It's not a basis for a system of government. But we have a bunch of senseless jingleheads over here swearing they saw something they didn't, acting like they don't believe me. And that comes from Sigmund Freud. He spent his career shoving cocaine up virgins' noses in Germany by the gram with his boyfriends and went into exile just in time for a Holocaust. That would have been the Illuminati's excuse for persecuting the Jews and for firebombing London. Hitler made it the law by terrorizing the Vatican with Jew skin lampshades. And if you're in any kind of top secret, you can look this up. Give me a hard time. Don't pretend you represent the Air Force and you paid the Libyans to take our toxic waste and then let them subsidize it back to us with school shootings, and you have some kind of moral obligation, at least one that we don't share. So in 2014, a doctor ripped off the insurance company because they're terrorizing the Pope with Jew skin lampshades. Why not just dump a bunch of compounded toxic waste pills in the water and claim it on insurance? Roe v. Wade is virgin sacrifice. Mitochondrial Eve made it so you're either a dumb Christian or not Christian enough for protection from our new owners. Turns out to be a fag revolution and some cannibals. Cannibal warlord Jesus from Uganda, conqueror of the British Empire, the last king of Scotland, owner of all the little blonde kids, 60 years of medically negligent population control for us, 30 sons that we know of for him. All of them think they're the last kings of Scotland too. Like, when you leaving? King of the what? My democracy has the Bill of Rights. It's a self-resolving conflict. More importantly, first, I shall do no harm. I shall guard my charge from injustice. And that is the the cornerstone of all rational authority, Gandhi, and then the United Nations. The United Nations was founded to prevent World War III, and Eleanor Roosevelt supported it, and she was a good character. But at the same time, they froze in stasis the third world as member states, like equal say in global affairs with disciples of Moses and Christ. And we don't need that bullshit.